Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So bizarrely enough, I recorded a version of today's episode on the evening of Monday, March 6th, and a lot of the discussion in that episode was about how, gee whiz, it's strange that we still have very little news about what's going to happen at Star Wars Celebration. Well, on Tuesday morning the 7th, exactly 1 month before Star Wars Celebration, we got the first inklings of what's happening on the stages. And so the version of this episode that I had previously recorded Monday night, into the trash. And now we're going with a new recording with new information. Prior to this point, it had only been details about pin trading and the art show that had been revealed. And even with what we have as of the time of this recording, there's still not a heck of a lot, but we at least now know that there will be a celebration stage, a galaxy stage, and a Twin Sun stage, which is pretty much par for the course. We know that Amy Ratcliffe is going to be hosting at least one of the stages. We also have our first look at the major panels happening on the Celebration stage at Star Wars Celebration. So Friday, the very first day of Celebration Europe, is kicking off with a Lucasfilm Studios showcase panel. This is the same branding of the panel that kicked off Star Wars Celebration Anaheim last year. The description says that it's launching with a must-see showcase that will kick the weekend's festivities into hyperdrive. Lucasfilm's current crop of live-action filmmakers will be joined by special guests to discuss the many current and upcoming Star Wars adventures, including The Mandalorian, Andor, and more. Why they don't mention Ahsoka in that run? Well, probably because on Saturday, the main panel is an Ahsoka panel. Join executive producers Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and special guests for a look at the upcoming Disney Plus series Ahsoka. Of course, they're still going to do Ahsoka stuff in the studio showcase panel. You know, they still did Mandalorian stuff in the studio showcase panel in Anaheim, even though they had a dedicated panel for that on a following day. But for that Friday studio showcase, that means we're probably going to see something from Skeleton Crew and also from the Acolyte as well. It would be terrific if we could find out what else is in the pipeline, at least one thing basically, but you know, with the talk from that Disney investor call earlier this year about how maybe the fine folks at Disney Plus want to slow things down a little bit, yeah, I don't know how that's all going to shake out. Then on Sunday, this is one of the really puzzling ones just on the face of it. The major panel is entitled Villains of the Sequel Trilogy, and it says the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many panels some consider to be can't miss. Ha ha ha. Join host Amy Ratcliffe as she sits down with Ian McDiarmid, Andy Serkis, and Gwendolyn Christie as they discuss their villainous roles in the final chapters of the Skywalker saga. Now, the reason why I say just on its face this seems like a very unusual choice to put in the prime real estate situation is because this is when major breaking news kinds of panels are placed. So it makes me wonder whether we're going to be hearing an announcement somehow related to these characters in Star Wars storytelling. And you contrast that with the fact that later on Saturday, there's going to be a look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi panel, although they just mention it being actors from the show, not necessarily any of the filmmakers involved in it. Those two facts, the fact that it's later in the day and that there are no producers or filmmakers involved with the panel, suggests that it's kind of unlikely we're going to hear about any sort of season 2 type of situation, unfortunately. Also on Saturday, there's going to be a Disney Parks panel, which is called Disney Parks Where Star Wars Comes to Life. They're going to have a special look at how Disney brings Star Wars to life in parks and beyond. The Beyond thing makes me wonder what that's about. They mentioned Galaxy's Edge and Galactic Star Cruiser. I suppose the other Beyond would be one of the Disney cruise ships, so maybe they'll be announcing a Star Wars Day at Sea situation coming up. Then on Monday, the last day of Celebration, the primetime panel is for The Bad Batch. It's going to have Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett and Athena Portillo, who are, in the production side of things, and then Dee Bradley Baker and Michelle Ong, who are the Bad Batch and Omega. It's going to be retrospective, mostly, I think, because of the fact that season 2 of The Bad Batch will have run its course. However, this would also be a great time to announce that a season 3 is in the works. And then later in the day on Monday, there's going to be a Visions Volume 2 panel featuring folks from all 9 of the animation studios that are involved in Visions this time around, along with Lucasfilm folks too. Now, I'm sure there's a lot more to come in terms of announcements, but there is one noticeable missing element right now, and that is anything related to the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And we already know that Ian McDiarmid is going to be at Star Wars Celebration, so is Billy D. Williams. No announcement as the recording time on Tuesday, March 7th about whether Mark Hamill's going to be at Celebration London, but good heavens, that would be really awesome if he is, and they do a panel related to that, and I'm sure there will be a screening as well, but yeah, there's still lots more to come in the way of announcements for Star Wars Celebration London, or Star Wars Celebration Europe, I guess technically is what we should be calling it. The other omission, not exactly glaring per se, but you know how I mentioned earlier in the episode that for the Friday studio showcase, they only mentioned The Mandalorian and Andor, and there are other things they could be talking about as well. Well, we also didn't mention the fact that there's a rumor kicking around that we're going to find out what the 2025 movie situation is going to be, and this doesn't get addressed in the studio showcase mention either. I suppose that shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean, I know rumors are rumors, so it's not like they're going to say, oh yeah, you know, it's been rumored, so we're going to confirm it. That's not how they operate. But if there is going to be an announcement about a 2025 movie, that will probably happen at the studio showcase panel as well. And I think just based on the flow of news and information, we'll probably be checking in on it on a weekly basis now leading up to Celebration London, because we've got 4 Wednesdays left, and yeah, it's almost here. I'm very excited to be able to bring this event to you. So that's what I got for you about Star Wars Celebration Europe and the current status of events, panels, all that fun stuff, and that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.